KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Here are the new rookies. This one is Wendell Bumpers. This one is Finn Overtire, who is sponsored by Lightyear. Ward Burnton. And also there is Tommy Redstop. And also, the most important one of all, Darren Leadfoot, who was hired as a backup Shiny Wax racer. And also, a new team of Shift-Right Racing, where it's Craig Shift-Right and his sons. Ricky Slood now has this look. The old look is no more. Now it's the number 5. And Neil Breakit, who joined the team that used to have Drive Parkerson. But he only went there because Vitalin fired him. By the way, Ken Schrader gets his 3rd pole for the Florida 500! But then, quickly he'll lose the lead to Terry Carboni, who will lead for 3 laps. But then, he'll quickly lose the lead to Clint Shift-Right, who will lead for another 10 laps. But then he'll lose the lead to Mike Yankee, who will lead all the way to lap, just 17. 2 laps, that's it. WJ Lights will take the lead and lead all the way to lap 21, but then he'll lose the lead to Hall Ingus. But then, he'll lead all the way to lap 34 for a total of 13 laps, but then, Phil Pitstops is out because he gets spun out. David Carlson will take the lead after the caution and lead for the next 9 laps. Owen Drivewell is out on lap 43 alongside Mark Roadsley, who's out for 6 races. Dale Earnhardt will lead for 300 laps! How does any car lead for that long? Now, let's see what happens when Dale Earnhardt is the leader. Chick Hicks is 14th as of lap 58, and guess what he'll do? He crashes Alan Karwicki, but he's not out! Good job, Alan Karwicki. And Chick Hicks will do another crash because he's 9th as of lap 75, and this time he'll crash Larry Smith, Eugene Karbareski, Kenny Shift-Right, James Cleanair, Dave Laney, who's out for 4 races. Kyle Traxon is 5th as of lap 128, where he'll flip Daryl Cartrip. Is now out next race. Chick Hicks is 8th as of lap 209. But then, he'll crash the reigning champion, Murray Clutchburn, and eliminating him for 10 races. Cole Speedland is out on lap 272 due to an engine failure. And once again, Chick Hicks! Oh, but he actually fails to wreck the king on lap 279. But Ken Schrader is now down 1 lap on lap 301 because of a long pit stop. Kyle Traxon is 5th as of lap 317, where he'll crash Dale Carrett, Kevin Phillips, Buck Schooner, Ricky Slood, Ernie Swervin, Michael Karchip, and he'll put Chick Hicks down 3 laps. Chuck Armstrong will finally take the lead from Dale Earnhardt and lead for the next 5 laps. After that's over, Mark Carton will take the lead and lead to lap 354, but then Hall Ingus will take the lead from him and lead for the next 5 laps, and he'll lose the lead to James Robson, surprisingly, who will lead to lap 361, and then he'll lose the lead to Clint Shift-Right, who will take the lead on lap 361 and lead for the next 10 laps. Sterling Carlin will take the lead on lap 371 and lead for the next 5 laps after that. But then, the King will lead all the way to lap 380 for a total of 4 laps. I fixed Dale Earnhardt's car picture, and he'll lead all the way to lap 455 for a total of 75 laps! But then, his rival Bill Racelot will take the lead from him on lap 455 and lead to lap 462. But then, Chick Hicks is back. Oh, he's back on lead lap on lap 461. But then, Davey Carlson will take the lead on lap 462 and lead for the next 5 laps. But then, WJ Lights will lead all the way to lap 471, and he will lose the lead to Neil Breakit, who will lead for the next 8 laps. But sadly, he's out because of Rusty Wheelhouse, who will lead for the next 8 laps. He'll lose the lead to Terry Carboni, who will lead all the way to lap 490, but then he'll lose the lead to Clint Shift-Right, who will lead for the next 7 laps. Then who will lead for the next laps? The King will take the lead from him, and he'll lead all the way to lap 500. But wait, on turn 4, Chick Hicks will win, and then he'll pass the King and win the 1990 Florida 500, beating the King by 8 feet. And Dale Earnhardt only comes 5 feet behind him. Sadly, the results are Chick Hicks wins the Florida 500, and here's the top 20 as well.
Thank you.
press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Here's some new features in every future Piston Cup history video. Chick hicks will cause a caution every race, but I will only talk about the important ones or the ones with more than 12 cars. Kyle Traxon will crash cars 1/5 of the time. Dale Earnhardt will crash cars 2/5 of the time, unless if he's in the lead. Rusty Wheelhouse will crash cars 1/3 of the time. And Jonathan Melcher will crash cars 1/4 of the time he qualifies. On to the actual season. In the second race, Craig Shiftright starts at pole position, but then Nick Charger is 35th as of lap 379, where he'll crash Ernie Swervin, who is out for 12 races. And after Nick Charger's true motives were discovered, he is suspended for 20 races for his actions. The King will win the second race. But then, on the third race, Terry Carboni will start at pole position. He'll lead for the first few laps. But then, Dale Earnhardt will flip Greg Candyman on lap 89. And now, Greg Candyman is out for 3 races. Kyle Traxon will wreck Chick Hicks on lap 147. But then, Chick Hicks is now out for 6 races. Rusty Wheelhouse will almost win the third race. But then, he will still lose to the King, who won the last race. And now he wins the third race. Ruby Easy Oaks will start at pole position for the 4th race. But then, very soon, his engine failed on lap 395, in fact. Dale Earnhardt will lead for 486 out of 500 laps! How does any car lead for that long? And of course, he has to win the 4th race. Andrew Axler will start the 5th race at pole position, but then he'll quickly lose the lead to Clint Shiftright, who will lead for, he will just win the 5th race. But he won't lead that many laps though. Larry Smith will start at pole position for the 6th race. He'll lead for the first few laps. This guy actually qualifies. And also, Daryl Cartrip will lap the entire field on lap 45! Rusty Wheelhouse is 5th as of lap 253, where he'll crash Finn Overtire for having the same number as him, once again. The crash also collects Jeremy Carfield and also Phil Pit Stops. Clint Shiftright will take the lead on lap 294, which means that Daryl Cartrip has no longer lapped the whole field. Mark Carton will actually win the 6th race, same as his number, 6. Daryl Cartrip will start at pole position for the 7th race. But then, Daryl Cartrip will lead for 462 out of 500 laps! But in the end, Davey Carlson will almost win the 7th race. And of course, Daryl Cartrip wins the 7th race! Eugene Karbareski will start the 8th race. He will lead for the first 30 laps, but then he's out because of Dale Earnhardt, who actually leads from lap 2 to 64 for 62 laps. And now he's out because of Kyle Traxon, who will lead for the next few laps after that. Actually, the next 21 laps. But then he's out because of Chick Hicks, who will lead to lap 93. And now he's out because of Rusty Wheelhouse, who will lead to lap 108. And now Rusty Wheelhouse is out because of Jonathan Melcher, who will lead to lap 109. And now he's out. And who crashes him? Actually, Cole Speedland, his rival, until lap 115. And guess what's next? Cole Speedland's out because of Buddy Breaker, who only leads to lap 115. And now he's out because of his old rival, Craig Shiftright, who will lead for the next 10 laps. And now he's out because of his rival, Ernie Gearson, who leads for 2 more laps. And now he's out next because of Krusty Rotor, who will lead to lap 131. Will there be another crash? Actually, yes, but Neil Brackett doesn't get crashed at all. Bill Racelaw will almost win the 8th race, but in revenge for his father, Clint Shiftright will win the 8th race, avoiding every crash. Dale Earnhardt will start the 9th race, where he'll lead for the first few laps, and the race is actually won by Alloy Wilson? He's been doing terrible before this point. Chuck Armstrong will start the 10th race, and something surprising happens. Ward Burnton falls asleep on lap 318, which also crashes Michael, and also Michael Cartrip is down 1 lap because of a long pit stop. Dale Carrett is out next race due to a crash from Kyle Traxton, who will almost win the 10th race, but in the end, he'll lose to Clint Shiftright, who will win the 10th race. He'll also completely dominate the 11th race before on the last lap losing the lead to Dale Earnhardt, who will win the 11th race. Anyways, Andrew Axler came second that race. Good job, Andrew Axler. The 12th race is completely boring, but Chuck Armstrong wins again. Sterling Carlin will start the 13th race. He'll lead for the few laps, but then WJ Lights will quickly take the lead from him, and he'll lead for a lot of laps. Ken Schrader will almost win the 13th race, but in the end, Bill Rayslot will win. He only loses by 2 feet to the King, who will win the 13th race. And Allie Wilson, the winner from a few races ago, will start the 14th race. But quickly, Misty Motocross is out on that 47, and guess what happens next? Claude Scruggs has something. He causes a crash that eliminates Allie Wilson and Dale Earnhardt. Rusty Wheelhouse will almost win the 14th race, but in the end, Dale Earnhardt actually wins, not being wrecked by Claude Scruggs. Clint Shiftright will take pole position instead of Dale Earnhardt, but he'll lead for 391 laps out of 400. And of course, Clint Shiftright will win the 15th race, since only 9 laps weren't led by him. Murray Clutchburn will begin the 16th race, where he'll lose the lead to Clint Shiftright, who wins the 16th race. Wait, what? That was boring. But Larry Smith starts at pole position next race for the 17th race. But later on, Terry Carboni will be flipped by Chick Hicks on lap 172, and he's out for 2 races. Clint Shiftright will almost win the 17th race, but in the end, he'll lose to his father, Craig Shiftright, who will win the 17th race. Rusty Wheelhouse will start the 18th race, but quickly lose the lead to Alan Karwicki, who will actually never leave the top 3 in the entire race. But in the end, Dale Earnhardt will win the 18th race. And also, Kyle Traxton will start the 19th race, but you know what happens next. Chick Hicks is out for 2 races. Not because he's wrecked by Kyle Traxton, but because he's wrecked by Rusty Wheelhouse, who only lost by 3 feet to Don Alternators, who wins the 19th race. Wait, what? And here's a quote from winning. James Clean Air will start at pole position for the 20th race, but will lead for a grand total of 1 lap because WJ Lights will take the lead for over half the race. Rusty Wheelhouse will almost win the 20th race, but in the end, he'll lose to Ernie Gearson, which led 1 lap of the 20th race. Billy Oil Changer will start the 21st race, but you know what happens next. Kyle Traxton is 15th as of lap 53, where he'll wreck Jimmy Roadster, who's out for the season now. Rusty Wheelhouse will once again lose by a very small margin to Mark Curtin this time, who will win the 21st race. I feel bad for Rusty Wheelhouse not winning, though. The King will start the 22nd race at pole position, but then Hall Ingus will win the 22nd race because Dale Earnhardt thought he couldn't. Phil Pitstops will start at pole position for the 23rd race, but quickly lose the lead to Rusty Wheelhouse, who will lead for a while of the race, but he will almost win, but he loses to Mike Yankee, who somehow wins the 23rd race, probably because it's gas spread. Craig Shiftright will start at pole position for the 24th race, but the quickly Chick Hicks eliminates 20 cars! Ernie Swervin will go airborne on lap 418. Terry Carboni will almost win the 24th race, but in the end he'll lose to the King, who luckily wins because Chick Hicks caused the big one. The 25th race is started off by the King, and he will win because he dominates the race! Only 3 cars led that race. Another one of them being Dale Earnhardt, who starts the 26th race, and that other one is Clint Shiftright, who wins the 26th race. Only 3 cars led in the 25th race. 27th race begins with Larry Smith at pole position once more. But then, Kyle Traxton is out next race because of Chick Hicks, who wins the 27th race, just like he usually does. Murray Clutchburn will start the 28th race. Kyle Traxton will lead for 4 laps before Rusty Wheelhouse will lead for 237 out of 400 laps. Bill Rayslot will win the 20th race. Andrew Axler will start the 29th race before being wrecked by John Hicks, who will crash 6 cars after him. Larry Smith luckily wins the 29th race. Ruby Easy Oaks will start the 30th race, but then Kyle Traxon does his thing. He's 17th as of lap 297, and he'll wreck Phil Pitstops, who's up for the season! Dale Carr is now the winner of the 30th race. Hall Ingus will start the 31st race. He'll lead for a few laps, but then Dale Earnhardt will win the 31st race after a few cautions along the way. Eugene Carbareski will start the 32nd race, but then he leads for these laps. And also, Johnny Blamer gets wrecked by him, despite the fact that Eugene Carbareski dominated the race. He only loses to 11 inches to David Carlson, who will win the 32nd race. Mark Carton will start at pole position for the 33rd race, but then Kyle Traxon started second in the 33rd race. Guess what? Chick wrecks them both and leads for most of the race. The King will only lose by 25 feet. But who wins, you ask? Neil Brackett wins the 33rd race, but this is his last ever victory. WJ Lights will start at pole position for the 34th race. But then, Rusty Wheelhouse will take the lead and almost win the 34th race. But then, David Carlson will claim his second win for the season at the 34th race. The King will start the 35th race, but then quickly lose the lead to Andrew Axler, who will lead for 331 out of 400 laps. Alloy Wilson will lead for the lap 394 to lap 396, but then Chick Hicks is second as of that lap and wrecks Alloy Wilson. Clint Shiftright will win the 35th race, which means that the King will have to wait another race to claim his Piston Cup. And also, only he, Clint Shiftright, and Dale Earnhardt can win the Piston Cup. These 6 cars came close, but not close enough to win the 1990 Piston Cup. But sadly, these 3 cars had good seasons, but were unable to win a race. Press F to pay respects.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
These 3 cars can win the Piston Cup this season, but none start at pole position. That is Andrew Axler, who will lead for the first 9 laps of this race. But then, Clint Shiftright will take the lead from him and lead for the next 8 laps after that. But then, Hall Ingus will take the lead on lap 19 and lead till lap 23. But then, Misty Motocross will take the lead on lap 23 and lead for the next 6 laps. But gets quickly sped past by Mark Carton, who will lead until lap 31, before Rusty Wheelhouse will eventually take the lead from him. He'll lead for the next 7 laps, before WJ Lights will take the lead from him. He'll lead until lap 41. But then, Daryl Cartrip will lead to lap 45, leading for a total of 4 laps. But then the King will trade the lead over to himself and lead to lap 50. But then, Chick Hicks is 6th as of lap 50, where he'll crash Alloy Wilson, Larry Smith, Billy Oil Changer, Ricky Slood, Dale Carrett, Ryan Shields, and Darren Ledfoot. Neil Brackett will take the lead after the pit stop and lead for the next 3 laps after that. Brackett would need to pit again, then the King will lead for the next 40 laps! But then, Ernie Gearson will take the lead on lap 93 and lead till lap 97. And now, he's out! Alongside Ryan Thunderbolt Jr. because of Dale Earnhardt, who will lead all the way to lap 147 for a total of 50 laps. Chick Hicks is 11th as of lap 147, where he'll crash Kyle Traxon, his rival, Rusty Cornfuel, and Johnny Blamer. Ken Schrader will take the lead after the pit stop and lead for the next 6 laps. But then, Davey Carlson will take the lead from him and lead for another 6 laps. And then Sterling Carlin will take the lead from him, leading for another 6 laps. Murray Clutchburn will take the lead and he'll lead all the way to lap 182. Not 6 laps, but he's out because of Jonathan Melter, who will lead to lap 199. And now, Rusty Wheelhouse is 4th as of lap 199. And guess what he does next? He crashes Jonathan Melcher. And Cole Speedland, his rival? Terry Carboni will take the lead after the pit stop and lead for the next 7 laps. Clint Shiftright will now take the lead on lap 207, lead for the next 60 laps! How does any car lead for 60 laps in the Dynaco 400? Now, Andrew Axler will take the lead for the next 20 laps! What? And now, Mike Yankee will take the lead from him for like half a lap. And just over the finish line, WJ Lights will take the lead and lead all the way to lap 291 for like 3 laps. And now Jeremy Carfield will take the lead and lead for the next 7 laps. And now he's out because of Dale Earnhardt, who will lead for 75 laps! How does any car lead for that long in the Dynaco 400? And then the King will take the lead for the next 10 laps after that. Jack Hicks is 7th as of lap 383, where he'll crash Bill Rayslot, Mike Yankee, and of course Ernie Swerven. Craig Shiftright will take the lead on lap 383 and lead to lap 387, where he'll lead for a total of 4 laps. And now he's out because of Dale Earnhardt, who will lead for just 2 laps. But then Jack Hicks will take the lead for another 2 laps. Neil Brackett is now out because of an engine failure. Chuck Armstrong will take the lead on lap 391 and lead for the next 3 laps. But then the King will take the lead on lap 394 and lead for the next 4 laps. Clint Shiftright will take the lead on lap 398 and lead to lap 399. Final lap, the King will take the lead, but very quickly, Clint Shiftright will take the lead, cross the finish line on his own, and win the 1990 Piston Cup! But you see here, the King comes second once again. And also, a Shiftright has not won the Piston Cup since 1977. And also, luckily Chick Hicks is not in the top 4. Dale Earnhardt once again finishes 3rd. But well, Daryl Cartrip is retiring this season, but luckily he had a top 10 to end his career off with. Hall Ingus actually came in the top 12. Misty Motorcraft has gotten even better by finishing 13th this season. Bill Rayslot actually beat Chick Hicks, which I am very which I'm very thankful for. Larry Smith dropped to 9th because of a bad season this season. Davey Carlson is only in 11th because of his failures to beat Daryl Cartrip. And as you can see at the top, Alan Karwicki, Neil Brackett, Mike Yankee below the top 20. That's because Murray Clutchburn just narrowly beat them. And also, Kyle Traxon, not being suspended or crashed as much, actually finishes in the top 20. Andrew Axler had a good season, but well, he dropped to 16th because of the good performances of Craig Shiftright. Since Craig Shiftright actually had a pretty good season. In 19th is Dale Carr, who actually managed to beat all these cars as well. Terry Carboni actually had a very low finishing place because Chick Hicks wrecked him several times! Eugene Karbareski is only in 25th because of him being wrecked a few times as well. Ernie Gearson's only in 27th because he got involved in a lot of crashes. Jonathan Melcher is also in 30th for a very similar reason. Ryan Thunderbolt Jr. dropped to 36th after his crash in the Dynaco 400. Jeremy Carfield's only in 33rd because a lot of cars are just worse. Ricky Slood also got into a lot of crashes as well. As you can see, in 39th and 40th, Billy Ford and James Cleanair are only barely in the top 40, narrowly beating out racers like Kenny Shiftright and Rusty Cornfuel and Don Alternators. And you see here, Krusty Rotor retains his position in the top 40. And as you see, Rusty Wheelhouse made it back to the top 10 because of his good performances this season. And what you see here, Mark Carton is 4th! Wait, what?
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
2 cars retired after the 1990 Piston Cup season. Daryl Cartrip has retired, and so has Slide Powers. Slide Powers has been racing ever since 1948. Yeah, Slide Powers has been racing ever since 1948. And only now has he chosen to hang up his light years. Slide Powers has taken the record for being the Piston Cup racer with the longest career in Piston Cup history.
And don't forget about his 2 Piston Cups in 1948 and 1949.